Hi, welcome to Classic Car Cave. So we're back on the Mini Cooper behind me, or above my head. So I've got it up on the ramp to change the suspension, and as you can see, the suspension here on the back and on the front is pretty equal, but it's so high, it's on the very last extension of the high-lows. This was done because of the turf in Austria. Now I should be fair and say that in Austria, if you bring a car from another country, they check it mechanically and make sure it's okay, which is good from a safety point of view. And if you have a car that's standard, that's come out of the factory that way, there's no issues whatsoever. So it isn't that, it's when you start to change engine size, or change an engine, or change its original, the original product, if you like, I don't know, making a car from a saloon into a convertible, then it's big issues, because you need engineering reports from mechanical and metal work. So they basically jacked this up from where it was to meet some kind of ground clearance situation, but why, I don't exactly know. I mean, all the Minis, even before high-low, when they had molten rubber cones, which they still have, the only difference is you're taking out a trumpet, which is made of a certain length, a standard length, and you're putting an adjustment bar in it, which is the high-low system, which came out much later after the Mini was developed. And this is what their issue is. Their issue is, if it didn't come out with it, then it's an issue. With my Series 1 E-Type Jaguar Roadster behind the camera, was the same thing. If I'd have tried to put 3-point seat belts in it, or inertia belts, it would fail it, because it didn't. In 1966, it didn't come out with inertia seats. It had lap belts. So even though they're probably more unsafe, depending which way you look at it, that's what they want. They want it as original as it came out. So that's the situation. I'm just trying to explain why in Austria and Germany and places in Europe are very tight about these kind of things. Anyway, that being said, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the back. I have a pit jack here, and this is why I bought the 4-poster ramp. I could have easily bought a 2-poster, but having been an ex-garage owner and doing MOTs in Scotland, it was, the 2-posters have some limitations, and so do the 4-posters. But the problem with the 2-poster is you've got the suspension hanging all the time, and so then you need other things to lift it. It is good for replacing bodies, and there's a lot of things. But as you're getting older, it's something to think about. You don't have to get down on the floor and adjust the arms and adjust the threads on the pads, and so on and so forth. With a 4-poster, you can just drive on, use a centre pit jack, and you're done. So, without any further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the back. I will show you how it is now, once I've got the wheels off, because it's very dark and it's hard to see what's going on. I'll take the back wheels off. Before I jack it up, I'll measure both sides, and then I'll come back and show you exactly what I'm doing. Okay, so I've just brought the ramp down. I've just measured the arches. They're approximately 7 centimetres from the top of the arch to the top of the tyre, same both ends. There's a bit of discrepancy all the way around. It's not absolutely perfect, but they are pretty much on the highest level of the thread. I've got the car jacked up, I've got it on the pit jack. There's 2 reasons for doing this. One is I want to show you what's going on, but more importantly, it's easier to get to the adjustment from the outside than it is from the inside. It's a bit easier on this side, even though the exhaust is quite close, and I've got an electronic fuel pump there as well. But on the other side, where the battery box is, it's very difficult, so it's easy just to take them off. You might notice I've got this air gun here, and I use this only for taking the wheels off. Now, this might be old school, I don't know, but I can tell you from working as a mechanic for Ford in Harrogate in Yorkshire many moons ago, 1981 or whatever it was, after I came out of the Royal Marines, and I was working as a mechanic for Ford, and they were using air guns then, and they certainly weren't bothering with the torques, what torque it should be, so they're certainly not doing it anymore, that's for sure. So you go to a quick fit or some of these other places, they just, the torque settings are exactly the same, and they just ram everyone up the same. And the problem with wheels is what a lot of people don't realise, particularly with steel wheels, is they've got a certain amount of springiness in them. And if you keep over tightening them, what happens is you'll lose that spring. And this is why wheel nuts come loose. The whole point is to torque them to the right amount so that the spring in the wheel is pushing back against the nut. So you can over tighten them. And this is what's happening. People are going on to these, say, I'm not knocking Quick Fit or any of them, Halfords, whoever it might be. But that's the situation. All they know to do is take them off and put them back on again. So I always use a spider. I know it's maybe an old-fashioned thing that people don't use anymore, but believe me, you can feel it. And you can also do the torque settings afterwards. A lot of people do torque settings on the wheels, but it depends on what they are. You know, if they're aluminium, whatever. But yeah, certainly do it by hand rather than with a gun. So what I'll do is I'll take you inside now and show you exactly what the situation is, and then after I've adjusted the back, and I'll do the same on the front. So you can see pretty much there how far that thread is out. I've taken the locking nut off because obviously I want to turn this back the other way. So basically it's just a simple matter of just cranking it backwards. And the problem is there's isn't a lot of room, so you've got to kind of try and, sorry, catching the camera. You just basically got to, and you should be able to get to a point where you can actually turn this. Okay, so once again you can see how far that thread is out. So I'm going to do the same adjustment on the back, on this side. Hopefully you can see here what's happening. Obviously this car, it's been completely rebuilt, completely restored, and obviously things are greased and nice and loose, so I can easily turn this. One thing you want to be careful of is that things don't fall out when you've taken the tension back off. So I'm taking it from the top to absolutely nothing left, so it's on the very bottom, and check the height, and obviously it's too far up in the arch. So I need to make a compromise. Now again, whether you've got red spot, yellow spot, whatever cones you go for, whether they're new, old, worn, whatever, and so on and so forth. Also, you can't rely completely on these threads. So the fact that you've got 2 threads showing or 4 doesn't necessarily mean it'll be the same on the other side. There could be some anomaly with the machining. So I'll bring this up to, I'm going to take about to 1.5 centimeters. And that's a gap between the locking nut and this slide nut here, and I'll show you how it looks. See, I've brought it back out. I don't know how many threads are there, I'll get the light. But you can see it's approximately 1.5 centimeters from nut to nut, which is exactly the same on the other side and locked off. So now I'll put the wheels back on and we'll see how it looks on the back. Now, obviously the suspension will have to be, the car will have to be run up and down because it will kind of reseat itself, but it's very important that you make sure that this is back onto and the knuckle is in correctly before you jack it down, otherwise it could go all over the place. So just check that rubber cone is in, and as I said, and it's good in the knuckle joint in the back, it's not come out. Right, so I'll bring you back once I put the wheels on. Check it now. Now this is without rolling the car or without going over some bumps and reseating everything. It'll probably go down possibly another even centimetre, but it needs to get into its own groove, as it were. So when I look at it now, that's 5, so that's 2 centimetres I've taken off. Now it doesn't seem very much, but I'm pretty sure once I drive this car this afternoon and go over a few bumps, get it to settle, it'll go down another, it'll probably be down to 4, which is just about right. Now, obviously you've got to bear in mind that the front is jacked up, so it's going to put some tilt onto the way it looks. Unless they're adjusted on all 4 corners, you're going to have some issues. So what I'll do now is, this is taking around about 10 minutes. Okay, I have a 4-poster ramp, I have brand new suspension, it's all lubricated, it was very easy to do, I could do it by hand. On the floor, yeah, different story. And if the suspension is older or it's not been greased, it's a different story. So it's horses for courses. As you can see how high that one is, there's about 1, 2, 3 threads showing. I'll take you around the other side, which I've adjusted now, and there's actually no threads showing there. So we'll see how, I'll do the same on the other side and see how that works out. That's front and the back done. As you can see, the front looks a little bit lower than the back, but it's a bit of an optical illusion because of this extension on the rubber for the wheel arches. They are almost the same. I will run it round. I've only run it up the road and back, but I'll take it on a bit of a journey, so it's got a few more bumps going in it, and it will kind of seat itself a bit better. But if I stand back, I think you can see the stance is much better now. What I should have actually done was taken a measurement from there to the ramp and just see what it is overall, but I didn't do that, I forgot. So, there's not really a lot to them. Again, it goes back to, like I said, if the maintenance is good and they're clean and they're new or whatever, they're not rusted, it's a fairly simple job to do. And obviously, you know, if you've got a ramp, it's even more so. So, on that note, as usual, stay safe, keep the faith, enjoy your hobby. And yeah, just go out and make something or do something. It's surprising how something away from work can give you a lot of happiness and a lot of contentment. Take care, everybody. Bye.